Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Lili Nishmas Imi Moirosi Ruspas Mordechai. We're starting with the video. You have some volume? There we go. It should be on the screen. Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Okay. 7 months ago, my life changed thanks to a push from a friend to join the Daf, Shimi Rab, who convinced myself and a friend, Gabriel Braun, to join MDY after 7 years of not opening up a Gemara. Since the beginning of Megillah, I joined the Daf, and I can't honestly say I've ever done anything in my life that makes me feel as accomplished as finishing a Masechta of a Gemara. Now listen to this. This choked me up a little bit. For Simi Yavamas, we decided to go all out. As big cyclists, we decided in advance of starting Yavamas that if we all finish the Masechta, we take a trip to the Italian Alps to celebrate the Siyum. Baruch Hashem, we all finished and took an epic trip to the Italian Alps where we had a Siyum none of the three of us will ever forget. We recorded the attached video of one of our rides because that would a Siyum trip without the strong good morning, Rabbi Isai. Thank you for being the biggest reason to get up in the morning and looking forward to many more Siyum and Mirz Hashem. Thank you for being the biggest reason to getting up in the morning. Yehuda Bencher. Here we go, Rabbi Isai. Here's another good morning, Rabbi Isai from the Alps.
Good morning, Rabbi Isai.
All right. But you hear this? They gave themselves an award. If we finish the Masechta, you're going to go to the Alps. Dear Rebbe, I just started to learn the Daf today. When a call came in, needed to go. As I arrived in the hospital with a patient, I saw 21 ambulances. Now, without looking at this, what country is this? 21 ambulances? It's going to take, means a good few hours to offload. Socialist medicine. Can't be any other. How does the ambulance come to the hospital and wait for a good few hours? Waiting. So I decided to finish the Daf while waiting to offload. Yaakov, it says Jacob, but we're not goyers these things anymore. Yesterday, by the way, what? Can't see? Manasseh, I'll fix it. Yaakov Gross, Yankel Gross, Canvey Island, England, Canvey, Canvey. Oh, Canvey. Why is this Canvey? V-E-Y is V? Okay, fine. By Harry Shalom, only in MDY will someone overnight a pack of rainbow cake from Borough Park to Los Angeles. I hate cake. Do not send me cake. I'm on a serious diet. Oh, he's playing around with the thing here. Hold on. Anyway, it says like this. He included the Rebbe Adash's business card for free Gemaras. Mi Kamchi Yisrael, MDY is a family. I'm assuming he's not so excited about the cake as much as he's excited about the business card. So therefore, a boysai, we gave out business cards at the Siyum. They're not to keep. Just one for yourself, the rest start to give out. So, I'm going to start over here. I have some for you. What's your name again? Shalom Aleichem. From?
Longmeadow, Massachusetts.
You know, my mother's from Massachusetts. My grandfather was a rabbi there, Rabbi Tzvi.
Oh.
Yeah. Here. So give these out.
I will give them out. This is my son Mendel.
Oh, Mendel. Shalom Aleichem, Mendel. Here. Yeah, make sure some more guys come to this year. What about you? You want some? If I like. No, you have to beg for them. What's your name? Shalom Aleichem. Brian Berman. From? Flatbush. Here. Give the oilam over there. You don't have to. I mean, you can give it to your son, whatever. Next. Oy, Vezmir. Gary messed around there. Let's see if we can get back on. All right. By Nachman Mostovsky. Hi, Rebelli. Nice seeing you at the Big Siyum again, Lakewood. Boys, we have a record here of good mornings. This is my 16-week-old doing his best. This is the youngest good morning Rabbi side. This is not a joke. Here we go. I sent it in last week, but I think there was no sound. This is fixed. Nachum Mostovsky. Here we go. You ready?
Good morning, Rabbi Sai.
It's nicht schlecht. Noch einmal. Nachamol. Here we go. Okay, this is another one. It was great to meet you at the amazing Sima at Bellworks. My kids wake me up every morning asking to hear Good Morning Rabbi Isai. Here's a video of their best impression. Josh Layton, Rebbe in Darche, even though my name is Josh. We're doing, yesterday, there's a line in the Besdin in Deal, New Jersey. The Oilem was changing their names. Murad is, I forgot what he says, is Baruch today. What's his name? The Oilem changed completely, I'm telling you. It's very, here we go.
Good morning, Rabbi.
Oy vey. Maybe I should have watched that first. Bolandi. It's a rainy day here and the kids can't play outside. That's why we have editing, whatever. Okay. Says Bolandi, he's in the kitchen and it's raining outside. And I hear the shir go on and I go to see it's coming from my 8-year-old son took my MDY tablet and started listening. Everybody, when the oilem is bored, they just, so here, that's the shtickle upside down, I'll admit. But it's yesterday's shir. It's amazing that this tablet, and that's why it's a great thing. He's probably trying to figure out how to get in. And unfortunately, he got stuck with the shir. That's yesterday's shir. So you see, Shalom Mandelcorn, it's unbelievable. The month sponsor for the koil is Lili Nishmas Zechari ben Moshe, the Mesechta. Lili Nishmas Moshe Elazar ben Nata Shalom, and Lili Nishmas Yisbarach ben Moshe Aaron, and for the hatzlacha b'chol hanyonim for my children. The second sponsor for the Mesechta, the entire Mesechta, we're going to be hearing from these people for 111 days. Jeff Rosner, zchus my son Yosef, Simcha Chaim ben Chana, Refuah Shlaima. Beis Hashem, we're not going to hear from this person. He's going to call us up to tell us that there's Refuah Shlaima. Parnas HaChodesh by the Lock and Lebovic families, Lakewood New Jersey, because Torah is the best segula. And Parnas HaChodesh number 2, as the zchus for our children be kadosh, safe, healthy, and happy, and know Hashem loves them. Parnas HaChodesh number 3, a new one, right? Shragi Chafetz RL149. Yes, finally. That soul is back in action. RL stands for Rockaway and Nassau. As a zchus for my family, myself, and for the Tzaddikim of RL Hatzalah. Who said Lawrence? Is it Lawrence? Rockaway and Lawrence. Shalom Mandelcorn. Lili Nishmas, my father. Rabbi Tzvi, whose yahrzeit is today. The neshama should have an aliyah. Rabbi Tzvi. We are holding on Daf Yomi Amud Beis. We're holding 5 lines from the bottom. So we have like this. See the chart, we have 2 Mishnais. Actually, 1. 2 cases. We learned the Mishnah on Yud Beis Amud Beis that she claims that she was an anusa. After they got engaged, somebody violated her. That's how she lost her psulim. So therefore, we have a shiloh what to do here. Rabbi Gamliel says we believe her. Why? She's a bari. He's a shema. She knows for certain versus doubtful, certain wins in this case. And then we have also Rabbi Yeshua says not Neman. Why? Because just because somebody's certain doesn't mean that they could take money out of somebody else. She wants to take a ksuba out of her husband just because she's so positive you can't do that. Okay. Then we had another case. The Gemara is saying that perhaps the 2 cases are the same. The machloikis is identical. Blue versus blue, red versus red. In other words, if you hold that somebody's believed bari v'shema, that the bari is adif, we believe the person is certain. So if somebody comes over to somebody else and says, hey, you owe me 100, you owe me mana, and he says, I don't know, it could be. I don't remember borrowing, but that's how it goes. Yeah? So if you say Neman, bari, so the person saying, you owe me 100, he's Neman, he's bari, he's 100%. You owe me money. So that's why Rabbi Yudh says Neman. Okay, and the same thing, the reverse. Rabbi Nachman says, we don't believe the guy that says you owe me 100. He'll also hold that we don't believe the woman that Mishareh Astani Nanasti. Says the Gemara. Leima Rav Yehuda v'Ravuna Damri Kirim Gamliel. That bari is adif. Again, we have a case of the woman says, I know for a fact you owe me 200 for the ksuba. Why? Because I was nenas after we got engaged. That resembles the case of you owe me 100, and the other guy says, I don't know. He's like the chassan that says, I don't know when it happened. It could be before we got engaged, it could be after. So we believe her. So over here also, you owe me 100. The other person says, I don't know. Maybe I don't owe you anything. Maybe I owe you 100. I have a very bad memory. Nemon, you have to pay the 100. Same case, no. Rav Nachman, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Nachman, it says that when the person says you owe me 100, we don't believe him at all. He says like Rabbi Yeshua, that we don't believe her. Nachman, Anodamri Afilu. Look at this chart now. Anodamri Afilu. No. Red can hold like blue. Red doesn't have to hold like red, and blue like blue. Red, in the case, I can hold that in the case of money, we don't believe a guy. I come over to somebody and say, you owe me 100. You didn't deny it. Sounds familiar. I don't know. In that case, we'll say he's not believed to get the money. But in the case of a woman who says that I was violated during the Erusin, we do believe her. Why? Because when the woman says that she was violated when she was in Arusa, she has a much better taina. What could she say? And we'll completely believe her. She could say, Mukaseit. Today, for instance, riding a bicycle. We'll call riding a bicycle, a horseback ride, whatever. Some other exterior factor happened where she lost her psulim. And it doesn't make her usher to a kayin and nothing. It's just Mukaseit. But the fact that she's saying, no, I was violated, so we have to trust her. There's a migui. hatzlacha, my migui. But over here, when a guy says, you owe me 100, what could he say? How could he say it better? Mike, there's no migui. My migui. In the case of Mishir Astani Nenasti, we believe her because she has a chazaka what? That she has psulim. She was born with psulim. She has psulim all the way through her erusin. When you Mekadesh her, she's a psula. She has a chazaka. Nothing changed. And she's explaining when it changed. Changed later on. There's no chazaka in the case of money, therefore, we don't trust him. The Gemara says a bam raya. We have to say that the red goes together with the blue, that just because you hold it, we don't trust the person by money, it doesn't mean we don't trust the person by psulim. We do trust. Why? If red goes with red only, and Rav Nachman has to hold by Erusin, by our case of the Mishnah, that we don't trust her, then we have a problem lahalacha. Why? Because we know all over Shas, the Chaim lo nilchasok Rav Nachman bedini. So the halacha must be like the bottom red corner. The halacha is like Rav Nachman. Person says, you owe me 100, and the other guy says, I don't know. Too bad on the guy that says you owe him $100. If the guy doesn't admit, you're potter, says Rav Nachman. Just because you're certain, you cannot take out money with your certainty. But the problem is, but the halacha on the flip side is like Rabbi Gamliel, the top right corner is Rabbi Gamliel that we hold in our Mishnah, like Rabbi Gamliel, that she is believed. If a woman explains that she became an anusa during her erusin, we believe her. So we have a stira l'chayra in halachas. Do we believe the red? Do we believe the blue? Which one is it? The answer is we believe both are right. When it comes to psulim, we believe her. When it comes to money, we believe him. So you see from here that Rav Nachman could hold like Rabbi Gamliel. Otherwise, we'd have a major contradiction in halach. How do you pass him? Do you pass him like Rav Nachman? Do you pass him like Rabbi Gamliel? The answer is we pass him like both. When it comes to money, there's no migui, no chazaka. We pass him like Rav Nachman. When it comes to psulim, she has a chazaka, she has a migui, we believe her. Says the Mishnah, the official Mishnah, sponsored by Moshie Horn. Hatzlacha with limited Torah and parnasa. I forgot to take my drink, so I'm going to have to make a bracha now. So if you're online, ask your local rabbi. This I could put over here now. I don't know if you want. What's better for you, to have this cord here? Put it over here to the side. So it doesn't. No, not good. We'll bring it back. We have a device that eliminates this cord, but it's stuck in the airport with thousands of other suitcases. Shema Amina. Says the Mishnah. Guess what? We already learned about this Mishnah. She claims that she lost her psulim through some instrument other than her husband or somebody else. Before she got engaged. Therefore, what does she want? She wants 100 of the Kesubos. She wants 200. What does she want? She wants nothing. What is she saying? Obviously, she wants something. We're talking about money here. She's coming with a taina. So we'll see in the Gemara how much she's asking for. Machlokes. Voimer loiki elo drusas ishat. He says no. You're nival. You lost your psulim to a man. Once again, another Mishnah with the same idea as the Mishnah before. We have a case of Bari Vishema, Bari Adif, says Ring Gamliel. The same Ring Gamliel from that we just discussed in Yud Beis Amud Beis says the same thing again in another case. We're going to have to explain what the difference between the two cases are. What do you learn from one case that you can't learn from the other? But again, she's certain. She knows what happened to her. She says, I lost my psulim through 8. Mukas 8. Oh, there was an email I wanted to read. Okay. Should I read it now? It was whatever. It's doubled. A doubled email. How can we not do a doubled email? Okay, fine. What? What? No, it has to do with the Mishnah. Fine. Sort of. It's doubled. Doubled. How could you not read a doubled email? You know doubled. You know doubled. The guy that had, what do you mean you don't know? The most popular email, everybody in New York says, read some doubled emails. The one that had the football play for Yavamas, and the one... Okay. I don't have it. I forgot to put it on here. Say there's, it's, you know what, it's been a Shemaim, not there. I was misupik if I should read it or not. Fine. He said, okay, fine. Maybe I'll try to say about Peh. Rabbi Yeshua says, you cannot take out money from the husband and say that he owes her a larger ksuba based on her words. We had all pshat yesterday, the Talmidei Rabbeinu Yoina, the world stands on emes, so we don't, she might be saying sheker. We have to say she lost a psulim from a man. Great. Says the Gemara Tanasanu b'mai. What exactly is each one saying? What is she saying? What is he saying? How much money does she claim and how much money is he claiming? She's claiming I need a full ksuba. All it is, I'm a drusas 8. I'm a regular woman. I lost the psulim, another factor, so it shouldn't affect my ksuba at all, 200. And he says, no, you're a bu'ula from a man. You only get a month. Rabbi Elazar says, no, she's only claiming 100. And he's claiming it, I don't owe you anything since you're a bu'ula. In other words, Rabbi Yochanan is of the opinion, read it first, tell me if I should read it. I don't know, I need some chachma here. So, Rabbi Yochanan says that when a person thought he's marrying a psula and it ends up a ba'ula. Here, so look at this chart for a second. We have two cases. If a person marries a woman and he finds out that she's a mukasait, so we had yesterday and the day before, Rami Bar Chama says she doesn't get anything, even mukasait. And Rava, we said that's how we pass. And Rava says she gets a mana. She's a mukasait. But what if a person thought that he's marrying a psula and turns out that she's a ba'ula? So now on this Rava says you don't get anything. Rava who says by mukasait you get a mana. Over here, she's a ba'ula. She doesn't get anything. Rav Sheshes says mana. So Rav Yochanan is of the opinion that she's claiming 200 and he's claiming 100 because even though he thought she's a psula but she turned out to be a ba'ula, Rav Yochanan holds like Rav Sheshes in the red that you get a mana. It's like Levi Freeman's Maisa. Somebody wants me to say, oh, Levi, I should say it, Levi? Okay, give it to me. Milshir. I don't know if Shalom Bayis advice is something you give out willingly, but maybe you can help me. I get up very early to learn the Iraisa, or he means our daf, early in the morning, Koila Beis Heshi in Borough Park. I'm not wanting to wake my wife up with the bedroom door and clicking shut loudly at 5:30. I usually put my slipper in the door to keep it ajar as I exit and re-enter during my morning routine. Some days I leave the house forgetting to take the item out of the doorway. Needless to say, my wife does not appreciate this when she wakes up. At the same time, there's something she frequently does that is quite frustrating to me. Near the pantry door, where I make my morning coffee, she sometimes leaves the broom leaning against the wall from the night before. When I fail to see it during the turning on lights, I tend to step on the edge of the broom on bottom, causing the stick part to hit the top square in the face. Needless to say, this is not fun at 5:30 in the morning. Being that we are now in the sugya, I ask you, what are we to do? This is the case of her taina's Pesach Besuach, and my taina's Mukas Eitz. Awaiting your wise advice, Yoeli Halevi doubled. I don't know. I'm not 100% a fan of those kind of jokes, even though I did say the thing from the yeshiva. Okay, fine. This is my Shaya. It's not bad. Levi, not bad. Hands up. Levi said the same exact Maisa, but he made it personal. He made it out. Okay. Now you know Yoeli doubled is. Don't ever forget Yoeli double, please. Can't forget Yoeli. It's not on this chart, but we had 2 days ago, I believe, Remeir says, we had a machlokes, what exactly he says, but he holds that Remeir will hold that if a person is a mukas eitz, turns out mukas eitz, and you didn't know about it, she still deserves 200. The machlokes is whether or not she gets 100 or 0. Now, this is great. Reb Elazar holds like Rabbanon, which are the majority, so he's safe. He holds like Rabbanon that what? The Amri bein ikrabel, bein lo yikrabel, mana. Whether or not he knew about it, even if he didn't know about it, she still gets a mana. So she's claiming mukas eitz, he's claiming bu'ula. You see, it's the two things on the chart. She's claiming mukas eitz. It's really not on the chart. There's a Remeir who holds that mukas eitz gets 200, so she's claiming 200. But he's claiming she's a bu'ula. So it's either 100 or nothing. That's the shayla. Is it 100 and 0 or 200 and 100? She's claiming mukas eitz. So there's a shita you get 200, there's a shita that says 100. He's claiming bu'ula, there's a shita that says mana, 0. Which one is it? Everything makes sense. Rabbi Elazar is great. He wants to go with the majority. We can understand him. But why in the world didn't Rabbi Yochanan say like Rabbi Elazar? What's forcing him? 200, 100. Let's say 100 and 0. It's like the majority. It's like Chachamim. Says the Gemara, beautiful. He holds like Rav Sheshes on the left, the red one on the left. The nimtzas bu'ula, you get 100. What about mukas eitz? 100. The most you could get is 100. You see the problem? He comes to Bezdin and he says, all I'm going to give her is 100. Why? Because she's a bu'ula. She comes to Bezdin and she says, all I want is 100 because I'm a mukas eitz. So it's saying the same thing. Shkoyach. Don't come to Bezdin. She's saying, I'm a mukas eitz, give me 100. And he's saying, no, you're bu'ula, I'm giving you 100. Doesn't make any sense. Therefore, Rabbi Yochanan is forced to say that she's wanting 200. And he's saying 100. Now it makes sense. But that's only because he holds that if you find her to be a bu'ula, you get 100. What if you hold that you get 0, which is what Rabbi Elazar holds? So now it makes sense. She's saying, I want 100. And he's saying, yeah, but you're a bu'ula, you get 0. I hold like Rava. Rabbi Elazar holds like Rava over there. They're not saying anything different. They're saying this exact, they're in agreement. So Rabbi Yochanan had to say the question was 200 and 100. By the way, if you're getting confused and your brain is Daf Yomi, in 2 seconds we're starting a new Mishnah. Lower down the speed, Rabbi say no 1.75 now. No, it's not that. It's really not complicated. Just maybe the wording. Oh. So according to Rabbi Elazar, I need the chart. I understand why there's 2 Mishnayos. Let's see. Do we have it? No. Oh. So we had a Mishnah on Amud Beis. Amud Beis, the Amud we started today. The Mishnah over there is Misharastani Nenasti. And he says no. Mekach tos. Again, she says, I'm not a psula, you're right, I'm not a psula, but it happened after I was already mekudesh to you. It's your problem, it's your field that went sour. He says, no, you fooled me. You were a ba'ula before we got engaged. And therefore what? L'chayr from the lashon mekach tos. What does mekach tos mean? Zero. That's the simple lashon. Okay. So, it's a case of bari v'shema. Fine. Mukaseit, that's our mission we just read. Same kind of thing. She says, I'm a mukaseit. He says, no, you're a bu'ula. So according to Rabbi Eliezer, now I understand why it says two mishnayos. Why? Chada, our mishnah of mukaseit, the one on the left, lapukim in the Rabbi Bar Chama. What does Rabbi Bar Chama say in red? Doesn't get anything. So I need a mishnah to tell me you get 100, at least something. Mukaseit, you get something. Rabbi Chama is out. Fine. Why does it say over there Rava Klum? No, that's a mistake. Yeah. Mistake. Yosef, you see? Because I copied and pasted. Rava doesn't say, in Mukaseit he says mana. So I got to change that afterwards. Okay. Okay. But don't ask me during Shachris. I got to daven a little bit also. Huh? No, that's okay. That's fine. I'm talking, whatever. We'll see in a second. Yeah. Because the main thing about this chart is what we don't say like. We're not going to say like Rami Bar Chama. And the Mishnah, Misharastani Nenasti, Rav Sheshes says a mana. No. It's a mekach tos, and therefore what? 0. Rav Sheshes says she gets a mana, and he says no, it was a mekach tos. So it's coming to Lafuke, the shita that says she gets 100, she doesn't get anything. But according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that you found her a bu'ula, right? Going back to this, I don't know if I could get it. This is bu'ula. According to Rabbi Yochanan, who said he also like she gets a mana. So the Mishnah that says Misha Restani Nenasti, let's go back to this Mishnah. Misha Restani Nenasti, and he says what? You're bu'ula. But Rabbi Yochanan holds when a person says bu'ula and he didn't know, he gets a mana. So then what do I need that Mishnah for?
Why didn't she lose her tent? She should have made it before she got married.
Okay, she's embarrassed, this, that, I don't know what. She wouldn't marry her. She doesn't have to say.
Say afterwards, right?
Who's this? Who's arguing about money? Might never even happen. They'll argue about that in 80 years from now.
Yeah, it's all about money. Okay, fine. Zog the Gemara. Says the Gemara, Here we go. The Mishnah of Misharastani Nenasti comes to tell us a tremendous chiddush. Even though she has a tremendous migun, she could say mukaseit. She doesn't say mukaseit. She says, no, I was nival, but I was nival after Erusin. You have to have guts to say that as a kala. She could just say, no, I was bike riding, whatever. So why does she have to come out to, I was nival, the whole... Nevertheless, Rabbi Shua says, I don't believe her. With her tremendous miga, I don't believe her. That's a big chiddush. So that's the Mishnah on Yud Beis Amud Beis. Our Mishnah, Mukaseit, comes to tell us that even though there's no migui, she's already the best time in the world. She says Mukaseit. There's no migui left. Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed. Says Gemara, Rabbi Shua. The Mishnah in Yud Beis Amud Beis says that even there's a migui, even though there's no migui, she's believed. Says the official Mishnah. Sponsored by Moshie Horn. You saw, now we're shifting gears slightly. We're going away from money, from ksuba, and now we're talking about yichus. I told you that for a few daf, we're going to be talking about nemanos of a person. Now we're just talking about yichus. Is she believed about herself that she wasn't with somebody that passels her? Let's say she had relations with a mamzer. she becomes psula, lakuna. Let's say her kid. What's her kid? Could her kid marry into Yisrael, into Chaim? What? So now we're talking about a whole different thing. We saw her talking with somebody. The Gemara is going to say, obviously, talking is nothing. Talking means either they hid somewhere and spoke, or they mamished as edim that she was nival. It's a nice way of saying it. Talking. We have to use a nice lashon. Now we're talking about a single woman. She's single, not Eishes. Nevertheless, what's going on here? Who's this guy you're talking to? Yeah, there was a ger chassid walking the street. I got to be careful. We have a ger chassid there on the table. He's walking the street. He's walking next to a woman. So a guy comes over and says, "What's wrong with you?" Yeah, he's a shtickle, yeah. What are you doing? It's against the kanas. You got to be walking 50 feet behind, in front, behind. What is it? Behind, 50 feet behind. He says, I am. This is my friend's wife. All right. Who is this guy you're talking to? He's my friend's wife, but he's my friend. He's a kohen, he's a chashav, he's a miyuchas. What does kohen mean? Kohen means the top yichus pasul in Klal Yisrael. Doesn't mean dafka kohen. He's a real gewaldige guy. Which, by the way, means that even great people, they also nichshal in these kind of things. Yeah? Weiter, Yankel Miller said once, Rabbi Yankel Miller said, listen to this, man, you're going to like this. Rabbi Yankel Miller said that when they shech the Yetzer Hara, he needs a hesped. Who's going to be mas with him? Nobody. He says, I'll come and I'll be mas with him. I'll say that even though he's a really bad guy, but Lamaisa, he drays around by all the Rebbes also. In other words, nobody's saved from the Yetzer Hara. Here, he's a kohen, he's a miyuchas, but he went into a private room with somebody shouldn't have. Why she believed Rabbi Yisrael is very important to remember. She has cheskas kashrus. She was a kosher woman before. That same status remains until you can prove otherwise. She's kosher. This is in the Mishnah, right? We're learning a Mishnah now. She lost her chazaka. Yes, she used to be cheskas kashrus. Now she lost her chazaka. And therefore what? She's pasul l'kuna. Who's a mamzer? A Jew. From the city became a mamzer. She had relations with this non-good Jew. That passes her. She no longer could marry a kohen. The same case, but different. She's already pregnant, and they're asking her, who's the father of this kid? She's single. Who is this? I'm telling you, the father is a great guy. Obviously, even if we trust her, like Ringamliel, we trust her, but we don't trust her Lagabi, the father. We don't go over to him and say, oh, you're this, and then you get Malkis, whatever. No shaykhs. We believe her claim that it was a kosher guy. We don't trust her. What's a mamzer? So we have this whole list that we learned in Yevamis, of course. A mamzer is usually someone that's created from a union of Isser, Kares usually, but some say even a Lav. Okay, even I say in a way. There's a Shita. Says the Gemara, let's just understand what the word Medaberes. What was the story here? My Medaberes. Ziri Omar Nistra, she went into seclusion with another man. Ravasi Omar Nivala. No, they saw Bia. Now it makes sense if she's just yichud. That's why we use a lashon of dibur. She was just speaking. She was yach. Why do we use such a wording? Lishnam aliyah ksiv. Lishnam aliyah kidchsiv. It says in the pasuk achla. Now the word achla in this pasuk is referring to znus, but it's using a refined language. Umachas apiyah, and she cleaned her mouth. It's not referring to the mouth. V'amr loy pa'alti oven. And I didn't do anything. Okay, so you see that the Torah also uses clean language. We're talking about two chidushim. There's yichud and there's pregnant. That if she's misyachid, according to Refuah, Asur and if she's nival, the chiddush is that according to Rabbi Gamliel she's mutter. Yeah, you hear the chiddush. Even yichud, according to Rabbi Yeshua Aser. Even nival bia, according to Rabbi Gamliel, is mutter. We trust her. Says the Gemara, it's the same thing. You just told me dibur means bia. So what's pregnancy? It's the same exact case. Says the Gemara, it's a chiddush to tell me that she's mutter and that her kid is also mutter lakuna. Two different chiddushim. Now, we're going to go into it a little bit more on Amud Beis. If you say that she is mutter, her kid is mutter, great. There's a mandama that says that the mother is kosher. It's unbelievable. Chiddush. The mother didn't do anything wrong, but the kid is possible. It's a huge chiddush. We take each thing individually. Why? What's the pshat? So I'll tell you the secret. We already said it. The mother has a cheskas kashrus. She was born with that chazaka. The daughter, even though it comes from the same mother, your mom is splitting hairs over here. The daughter, we don't look at. She was born without a cheskas kashrus at all. It's very interesting. What if you is stam shayla? You could think that it comes out of left field, like my stories. A person shechted a chicken, and we don't know if it's a good shechita. And then there's an egg inside. Could you eat the egg or not? So there are those who say, the Shach says that the whole problem of the egg from an Avela is only the Rabbanon, and over here, Safek the Rabbanon L'Kula you could. The Rekiva Eger proves from this Gemara that we go by the mother. If you say the mother's kosher, the baby's kosher. If the mother is not kosher, then the egg is not kosher. Okay, but the same idea. He's saying the same idea. No, it has both ideas here. Look, it has both. Read. It has both ideas. There's a Manda Omar that says, so according to that Manda Omar, they're connected. So if the mother is puzzled, treif, you say treif, it's an avela, I don't know, egg is treif. It goes on the flip side. I'm just saying, you have a random Gemara, and the Rekiva zoned in, he wasn't learning Subis, they asked him this question, he says, wow, there's a Gemara in Subis that reminds me, and I could pass in a Shaila about an egg based on this Gemara. It's interesting. Rav Ashi holds like the Manda Omar that if you say that the mother's kosher, she's kosher, so you don't have a kasha because that's what he holds, and that's why they go together. But I have a big problem. If you hold that talking means only going into yichud, and Rabbi Yeshua says we don't trust her. If a unmarried woman goes into a room with another man, we give her malchus. Very interesting. Taisus points out we don't do that for a married woman, but it's mamish deraisa, a married woman. The answer is because if you do that and you give her malchus, you're announcing to the world that her kid is a mamzer. So unless you go and you announce the kids, okay, fine. Just he makes an afkamina. We're talking about the malchus goes on the pnuya. But it says over here that you give malchus. Rabbi Yeshua says we don't believe at all. We don't trust her. But you don't answer her. So you don't trust her, or do we answer her? Which one is it? If you don't answer her, you don't say she's usher, so that means we believe her. Over here is different because over here we're talking about kahuna. When it comes to kahuna, we have to be more machmer. We don't trust her. Listen to these words. Two words happen here. We saw her going into a private room. That's one. Or into ruins, says Rashi. Ruins is much worse. Who goes into ruins? Why would a person go into ruins? You have nothing to look in a demolished home. Why are you going in there? You're going in there for one reason. It's 100% or 99% that she went in there for bad reasons, to be nival. And they ask her what's going on. So it's very similar to our Mishnah, but a little different. She says, Koinu, uben achi abahu. He's related to him. He's my cousin. Which is never a good idea to do. They say, okay, genetically it's not such a great thing. Again, once again, you have Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed that it was a kosher man. Rabbi Shua Omer Lo Mepionu Chaim. At the end of the day, she was nival. We can't trust her with who. We have to assume the worst. To a man who made her apostle. According to Zeiri, that says the word medaberes means literally dibur, they're schmoozing in a private room, yichud, aser. So we have two cases. L'seiser, they were schmoozing, there was yichud. I don't know exactly what happened. I could assume, I could make assumptions, but I don't know. Or l'churva means I know for a fact that there's bia. So it's two separate cases, dibur and bia. But if the word dibur means bia, tartelamali, so it's the same exact case. So the Gemara tries, it's a hidden ruins. Nice try, but it says the word oy, so don't even try that. But what I meant to try, says the Gemara, is it sounds almost the same, but they're very, very different. There's ruins that are in the city, in a Jewish city. So who went in the churva with her? Somebody from the city. You have to take all the people in the city, look around, they're all from a Yidden, so it's a from guy. But if it's in middle of the desert somewhere, who went into the churva? Somebody from the world. The world has 9 billion people, 8 billion people, a fraction of Jewish. You have to assume that's a non-Jew. Non-Jew makes her what? A Zaina. Pasal Oh, thank you. Sponsored the page turning by Moshie Horn in honor of Rabbi Tzvi Medetsky, the only Rebbe that was actually good at basketball, and Yankel Cohen, the official MDY MSP. Fine. Somebody sent me an email what it means. It's something to do with tech. Service provider. Merchant service provider. Chada. Says Gemara Chada Ktani. Chada l'churva the masa v'chada l'churva the dabra. Utzrichi. B'yashmin l'churva the masa. If I'm telling you a churva in the city, ba'al kamach shurvim gamliel, mishum deroiv ksherim etzla. So that makes sense why Rabbi Gamliel says she's kosher, because most of the people there are Yidden. Good yichus, people with yichus. El l'churva the dabra the roiv psum. By the way, a mice I know. Okay, we have 1 minute. I got to tell you this. We're talking about yichus. There was a guy that didn't know if he should name his kid after his Zayda in America. He was a real simple Yid. So the Rebbe told him that if he was a Jew in America that lived after the war in America, there's no greater yichus than that. That a person kept Shabbos in those years. Name your kid after him. Mais about yichus. Okay. But if the ruins is in the middle of the Sada somewhere, where most of the people there we could associate with being non-Jews. Only over there, Rabbi Shua says she's pasal Baha in Mill City, and my mother that she's kosher. Tzricha meisvei. The case is, you have to just stick in the words. What happened there? The case is a woman comes pregnant, and they ask her who's the father, and she says he has zchus. So we have machlokes. Nemon, not nemon. Zu eidish shayishak sheirla. Rabbi Shua Omer einen menes. Again, Rabbi Gamliel says she's believed. Rabbi Shua says she's not believed. Omer Rabbi Shua. Don't you agree that if she was captured, and there's witnesses that see the whole thing, and she says, "I'm tired, nothing happened to me." Don't you admit? Avol. What's avol? Check this pasuk out. Rashi brings it. Avol sorry ishtecha. I don't know if you ishtecha. I don't know if we ever paid attention. Avol doesn't mean but. Avol means emes. True, your wife, sorry, you let us ben. It's true that she's gonna. So the word avol means true. Amrloi avol, emes. So they asked him, okay, if you admit by a captured woman, yesh ben zu lezu, says the Gemara lezu yesh edim, lezu ein edim. There's edim that she was nival, and this one doesn't have edim. Amrleim av lezu yesh edim. You have edim that she was captured, she was nival, but there's almost no greater proof that this woman was nival because she's pregnant. Shari crazy ben shina. One clean lashon that we had once means that her stomach is between her teeth. There's other pirushim. In other words, she's so pregnant that her stomach comes all the way to her head. So this we have to understand. The Gemara is going to explain what is going on here. How does that answer anything? I'm telling you she's 100% pregnant, that she was nival, and you're telling me, but a guy has a chazaka, he's going to be boiler. Going to, and literally nival, how can you compare? It's worse. She's pregnant, it's much worse. Oh, you're right. But at the end of the day, when you have two people secluded, you have to assume the worst. You hear? It's a big yisoid in Shas. You have to always assume the worst. Not the people that don't worry, nothing's going to happen. When it comes to internet, it comes to all these things. Fine. Be'edus isha begufa. Aval edus isha bebita divriyakol avlad shtuki. Says the Gemara Nafkamina. If she says about herself that she's tahar, we believe her. But we cannot trust her about her kid. Her kid is a shtuki. Now, what is a shtuki? A shtuki is a kid. The mishatkin. We don't know. Who's your father? I don't know. Everybody says, shh, be quiet. Don't talk about it. Don't tell him. We'll wait until he's older so we could give him the bad news. Like I say the mice over and over. The only shtuki I know about is that kid that they dumped him in front of my house on Pesach night after the Seder. Steve Jakubowski's kid, who's now 14 years old. That's a shtuki. If it was real. What? Today he's not a shtuki, but he's a great kid in yeshiva. I'm saying, if that story played out the way they wanted it to be, a kid in a basket, that's a shtuki. We don't know who the father is. So the Gemara says, what's going on here? You answered something that doesn't make sense really. You're saying, oh, she's only pregnant. Only pregnant means she's nival. It's the worst of the worst. Doesn't get any better than that. You explain to me why, your logic, in your logic, you explain to me why a woman who's pregnant, she should be also Chaim. Why if somebody just talks, went into a room with somebody, why is she also Chaim? Because I could compare it to a woman that was captured. There's no difference if she's captured by Goyim or she went into a room with a Jew. There's a big difference. A guy has a chazakiyah. We know why he captured her. We could figure out the end. But not just because a guy went into a room with her, that doesn't mean anything. Even the starter, if they go into a private room, you can never trust from people, not from people. If they go into a room, you have to assume the worst. You just told me, look at the words. Hishaftanu al hamidaberes. Hishaftanu al amuberes. Matashivenu al hamidaberes. You hear the lashon? You answered me about a pregnant woman. You didn't answer me about a talking. So you see that talking and pregnant are different. According to the Shita, that talking means bia, so bia and pregnant are one. It's the same exact thing. But now, from here, from this whole back and forth, you see that they're two different things. There's dibur, just yichud, and there's bia, which is pregnant. It's two different things. So it's a kasha, says the Gemara, to Yufta the Ravasi, to Yufta Ravasi, says it's one and the same, it's a kasha. Says the Gemara, let's just go to Amar Rabbi Yochanan, let's say. How are you comparing a shvuya tamu beres? How could you compare the two? By Muberes, what happened? She had relations, but she comes from a Jewish city. She's in Eretz Yisrael. She's there. So 99% of the people are Jewish. So it's kosher. Why are you saying that she's possible? Masha'en came by a shvuya where they're non-Jews. Misayele says the Gemara, I'll tell you why. The Divrei HaMachshir, Rabbi Gamliel, right? He's the one that's makel in the worst of the worst cases. He'll be so makel even in a case where everybody's non-Jewish. Most of the people, 51% are not Jewish. The Divrei HaPoisel, and according to Yeshua, who says in all the cases that we don't trust her, not by mukaseh, by nothing. Poisel afilu b'roiv ksherim, even in a case where most of the people are kosher, according to Yeshua, we don't trust, and therefore there's no nafkamina between a shvuya and a muberes. We don't trust her, we do trust her. Have a wonderful day.